Super excited today to be joined by Ohio Congressman Greg Landsman. Great to be here with you.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I want to jump right in because a lot of people around the country, especially within the Democratic Party, say the Democratic Party is rudderless. They don't have a voice, they don't have a message, but you seem to have a plan to fix that. So why don't you tell folks about your pledge to America?
Yeah, so I think we're missing two things. One is an entity, our version of the Heritage Foundation that's is sort of meeting this moment and creating that path forward out of this mess. I've talked to leadership about it and have talked about it publicly and published my pledge to America, which includes a call for this new entity, your dedicated leadership. So outside of the DNC and the existing organizations and leadership, they got their jobs to do every day. We need a group of really compelling leaders focused entirely on this moment, and then we need a new governing document or a vision for where we go from here, how we come back from this, right? And it's clear what the American people want. They want an answer on affordability, and my pledge to America lays out those bills that will make the country infinitely more affordable, that tackles housing and healthcare prices. Those are the two biggies. I mean, obviously, food is up there too, and they want us to be able to keep them safe. And so this tackles public safety. They want real strategies around fixing our democracy and what that looks like, restoring freedoms, et cetera. And so the Pledge to America is a way for people who are frustrated to grab onto something that doesn't exist right now. They don't like Trump. They're frustrated with Trump. They're frustrated with the chaos, the corruption, the cruelty, the fact that the economy is getting worse. They want something else. This is that something else, which allows them to say, okay, we want to be part of what I'm calling the Great American Comeback. And that Great American Comeback is a comeback from this nightmare, right? And here are the 10 bills that we would lead on if we get the majorities in the House and the Senate. These are the 10 bills that will fundamentally transform this country back to a place where the middle class is thriving, folks are safe, our democracy is restored, and politics is normal again.
Well, I got to probe this a little bit because I'm a lawyer and I'm just really curious in a lot of this stuff. You talk about this independent entity. It's kind of like the Heritage Foundation.
For the left, for us.
For the left, right. But here's the issue. Democrats either don't have money or don't want to spend the money that they have. So how do you fund an organization like this?
So I think in this moment, there's a lot of interest. I mean, I talk to donors all the time as a elected official myself. This is something that folks would 100% invest in. So I think it's a matter of our leadership appreciating that this is in a truly complicated moment. And the American people need a group of leaders that will help them get out of this. And that does require additional leadership structured differently, separate from what we have right now, and fully resourced so that we're just better coordinated and organized. I just think, there are times where you do steal a page out of their playbook, and this is one of them, right? Why not do the same, but do it for good, as opposed to what the Heritage Foundation is doing, which is taking America into an authoritarian place that's less affordable, less safe.
Well, I got to ask you. I mean, you're in a swing district, so you have some tough elections every 2 years. Not all of your colleagues are, and they kind of have these guaranteed wins every 2 years. What incentivizes them? Because a lot of, and I read this proposal, the Pledge to America, it is a very kind of middle of the road, down the center proposal. What incentivizes someone on the left, say AOC, to say, you know what, this is the way the party should go forward?
Yeah, so AOC and I have talked about this a fair amount, and for the most part, there's like an alignment around fixing the economy and making things more affordable. Like, for example, we got to fix the tax code. She and I agree that the people at the top need to pay all their taxes, and then you have to invest that in balancing the budget and supplemental income for families so that they can pay for the things that they need, right?
Mhm.
That's good for them and it's good for our economy. I don't take corporate PAC money. She doesn't take corporate PAC money. I think that helps her sort of, appreciate. I'm coming at this from a similar standpoint, which is like, we got to return power and wealth back to people. And that's where she is.
Yeah.
And I mentioned her just because, like, she's one of the better communicators, in terms of the progressive wing of the party. I think we also are on the same page in terms of the need to restore healthcare cuts and create a public option. She probably would go a step further, but like, that's a pretty progressive place where people can buy into Medicare. The building more housing, I think that's where the party is, and most voters, which is if the country needs 10 million new housing units, whatever that number is, that's what we should, put down as our marker. We're going to, through reform and money investments, we are going to build so much housing that people will look back and be like, thank God they took the reins, because housing costs are now where they need to be. And I can pay for rent and I can pay for a down payment on a new home. I think that's where we're aligned. I think we still have some work to do, which is okay, is around public safety. Like, I'm a big believer that people do care about national security and they want us to be pragmatic, but they're pretty hawkish, most voters. And the same thing with public safety. They want good police officers and smart community policing, but they want their cops, right? And where I think, I differ from others, but I'm where the vast majority of Americans are, is they would take, gun reform, say, mandatory criminal checks, right? And a ban on some folks or everyone having assault weapons. If it also included that bill included hiring more police officers, which cities desperately need. They desperately need more officers. And I think that's where the folks to my left, probably if they spent more time in districts like mine, middle of the country, they would realize, like, oh yeah, no, people want, really good, smart policing, but they do want their cops.
What about folks to the right of you, Republicans, who you may actually need to get on board? I mean, some Republicans may need to vote for some of these bills because getting the Democratic Party to vote in unison, unless you're Nancy Pelosi, very difficult. So how are you going to get some Republicans to come across the aisle and support, or, in the chance that y'all are still in the minority in 2026, how are you going to get Republicans to put these bills to the floor?
So let's do three of them, right? Let's do public safety, housing, and the tax code. And it's in that order in terms of what I think we could get, the likelihood of bipartisan support. But let's take those three. Let's take public safety. The last time we passed a major, crime bill was in the 90s, with really significant gun reform. And our cities desperately need their federal government to help them get guns out of their communities, right? Because gun violence is a huge, huge problem in our cities, communities all over the country. In the 90s, Clinton paired gun reform with hiring, I think it was like 100,000 new police officers. And so the cops got on board. And so, they were able to pass that. I just think that's something we have to do now, because if you have police officers and the FOP saying, no, we got to get this done, and one, it's 100,000 new cops or whatever's needed. Two, it includes gun reform that's going to keep us safe as police officers and keep our communities safe, or safer, red flag laws, so that as a police officer, I can go to a judge and be like, I got to get this guy away from his guns. So that's one. The second one is on the building. getting this country building again, or rebuilding America, or the Build Baby Build Bill is what I call it, which is like, we're going to just go nuts and build so much more broadband and so much more housing and so much more infrastructure. If you pair those investments, because you do need more cash, with permitting reform, building reform, I think you'll have bipartisan support. There's an opportunity for bipartisan support. Now, the last one is the hardest, but it's the most important. Like, we have to fix the tax code. And so I think if you pair fixing the tax code, making sure everybody at the top pays all their taxes, investing that in working people, right, and balancing the budget, and if you do that with some reform to government spending, you could get some bipartisan votes. Meaning, there are lots of folks who would say, like, it's time for the folks at the top to pay all their taxes. We agree. But we want that invested in either deficit reduction or in people's pocketbooks. And we want some concession on spending. And I believe that concession is, maybe it's a across the board, freeze, not touching Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. Or you say, we're going to tackle waste, fraud, and abuse, but we're going to do it in a very strategic way. The GAO, or Government Accountability Office, they put out a report every year for every agency, and they list out all of the waste, fraud, and abuse. That should be a binding up or down vote every year. And so you could pass something that says, no, we will vote on waste, fraud, and abuse for every agency every year, and that should attract, hopefully, some bipartisan support. So, but anyways, I think you have to try.
All right. I mean, listen, let's see what happens next. Congressman, thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to link your pledge to America below so people can go check it out and learn for themselves, and we'll see what happens. So man, look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.